Indigenous Peoples Day, the President today issued two proclamations.
Yes.
One for Indigenous Peoples Day, the other for Columbus Day. In the Indigenous Peoples Day proclamation, the President spoke of it as a day to be celebrated. And in the Columbus Day proclamation, the President spoke of the need for reflection on that day. And he also seemed to indicate that Congress has requested that the President proclaim Columbus Day. So my question is President Biden begrudgingly proclaiming Columbus Day this year?
He's declaring both a holiday. Obviously, Indigenous Peoples Day is something that he's honored to be the first president to be issuing a proclamation on and celebrating.
Is it his wish that the federal law be changed, that Columbus Day no longer be the designation of the second Monday in October?
I don't have any prediction of that at this point in time.
He wasn't in Mother Africa taking one group. He was going around taking different people and making a melting pot. But what they don't mention is that there were already people here, there was black people already in America, which are the parents of all those people from different parts of Africa, because they moved over here from Uganda thousands of years before we even broke up into different tribes in Africa and became what the Arabs call Africans or Ifriqians, those divided into farqa, into pieces. You follow what I'm saying? So, and then you had your Moors, and then you had your indigenous people who were already here. The indigenous people were mixed in with Hushen, right? And they produced what you call Native Americans. When you hear about a Native American and you see a person with a round face and two long straight braids, that's not a Native American, that's an Indian. You understand? That's an American Indian. But that's not a Native American. Native American were all maxed like that face, that statue we made out there, when you come in with that big round head and them big lips and that big nose. I wouldn't even be classified as Olmec. They're purer than me. You mean, to be honest, but that's who they were. They were the indigenous people of this land. The Chinese came in, mixed in with them, and produced what you're calling Millersville. In the file is the YAMASSEE tribe, and the description is you. They have it there now. Go to, if you don't believe me, go check it. The woman told us literally, when you finish your research, could you please send me back a book because we need more information on y'all. Go ahead. That's what she told us in the library in Millersville. When you finish, if you go there, they'll say, some other people was here asking about this too. Them other people was, hello? I want to pull out all the files on it, all the information. How did the college get possession of Rock Eagle? When did they get possession of those deeds? How did they get, who gave it to them, and etc. And go back to that person and trace out the name of that person, which we've done, and found out it was illegal transaction. Produce the document was the question. Show me the document. Well, we can't. Then I can show you the genetic trait that I am YAMASSEE, Washita, Cherokee, Creek, Seminole, as well as more. Prove that. You follow that? And then you take that, not here. You don't go to his courts. You go to the international courts in Geneva. And the first thing you put forth is a statement, I am an indigenous person. Stop saying anything.
When Christopher Columbus crossed the Atlantic in 1492, he carried with him diseases which all but wiped out the native Indian population. Their revenge, according to history, was to send back to Europe the scourge of syphilis. But now, a skeleton unearthed in an English monastery can at last put the record straight. This is the true story of syphilis.
Christopher Columbus was once lauded as a national hero for supposedly discovering America, but much of his legend was pure hype. He didn't land where he planned, he despoiled the soil he landed on, and he soiled his accomplishments with acts of cruelty. Believing in mermaids made sense. Obviously, he didn't actually see any, but he sure thought he did during his first voyage. Exciting, right? You'd think so, but Columbus seemed to consider it a letdown. Referring to himself in the third person, because he was a megalomaniac, he wrote in 1493, when the admiral went to Rio del Oro in Haiti, he said he quite distinctly saw 3 mermaids, which rose well out of the sea. But they are not so beautiful as they are said to be, for their faces had some masculine traits. Mermaids weren't the ugliest thing about Columbus's first trip to the New World. That would be the zombies. Seriously, it's true. But in order to get to the zombie part of the Columbus story, first you have to go through the slavery and the genocide parts. So, needless to say, what we're about to tell you isn't pretty. After stumbling upon the so-called New World in 1492, Columbus called dibs on the island of Hispaniola, home to the present-day nations of Haiti and the Dominican Republic. In 1493, he began the first permanent Spanish settlement in the Western Hemisphere there, and he also began a reign of terror and devastation for the native population. According to Yale University, Hispaniola was home to roughly 500,000 of the Taino people when Columbus arrived. Within 20 years, that population had been reduced to less than 32,000 thanks to slavery, disease, and wholesale murder. But the Spanish still needed more slaves, so with the decimation of the indigenous population complete, they began bringing African slaves. Mortality rates at the sugar plantations were staggeringly high due to grueling, gruesome conditions. Slaves began longing for the afterlife, and many resorted to suicide in hopes of liberating their souls. To cope, they developed Haitian voodoo, a religion that stresses creating concord with the dead. Voodoo priests purportedly possessed the power to shepherd souls into the afterlife, or to trap them on Earth to work as undead slaves called zombies. These ideas later gave rise to 1968's Night of the Living Dead, the movie that immortalized zombies in popular American culture. According to The Atlantic, director George Romero envisioned the living dead as undead Haitian slaves, something that would never have happened without Columbus.
Welcoming your kids to school every day, but they won't welcome prayer in school. They'll welcome a history of a liar like Columbus, like we're talking about today. It's all right to have Columbus in school, someone who came over here and stole somebody's land. Teach them a lie.